Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's well. Let me know if you can see and hear the stream properly. Hope I'm coming in loud and clear. It's a new setup, new camera setup, new streaming software. I was using Streamlabs OBS before, and it was annoying me that it was never consistent. The picture quality was not what I liked the last couple of weeks, and I couldn't understand why. So anyway, I've set up the stream differently. The screen looks different. You can see the live stream populating over here. And as always, put a brightly colored emoji right next to your question, like say here, my comment, how I put a yellow dot. Put a couple of yellow dots or something if you want to actually direct anything to me. Let me know if my audio is coming in fine. And for the first time, I'm seeing if my GH5 camera can keep up an autofocus with me. Usually it's on manual focus and sometimes I'm out of focus, but we'll see. I'm not moving around much, so. Anyway, hope everyone's well. Some really nice responses to the recent video. This one, where most women out there, they say they like a confident guy who's in charge, and their reflex is to constantly test and make him doubt that he's in charge, make him doubt that he's making the right decisions. It's almost like they try their best to deteriorate his confidence over time as a test. I know women test all the time. At the start, I get it. Just as when we go on a date, we might test, but we might observe. Do we like this? Don't we like this? We don't like what that means. Do we clarify it? So there's these judgments and tests and things like that. But yeah, it's kind of like they just can't stop nagging and testing and poking and prodding and wearing a guy down. And then he's so worn away, he's no longer the guy you liked at the beginning. And they blame him. And they act as though they had nothing to do with it. Anyway, it's frustrating. Hey to the regulars, Boffin, Rocket, Peg, August Lion, Sean, Johnny, Ted 1775. How are you guys and girls? Feral Android, how are you? Did I miss any? Now you can actually see me scrolling. Isn't this fun? All right. As always, I'll just keep an eye out if you've got a brightly colored emoji, like a orange or yellow dot. Put a couple, like 3 of them in before your question. Then I can actually see them in the stream that they're for me. Like this. You know, when I see 3 in a row of a bright colored one. I mean, this one's not a question by Sean, but... So, I was pondering, given this video, the headaches that most women give the average guy that's just trying to be nice. You know, you got the women who, most women don't like a guy who's overly nice because then he's a doormat, he's a walkover. But the thing is, don't walk all over him to test if you can walk all over him. It's really stupid. If I like a girl, I'm not gonna treat her in a way to see if she lets me treat her in a way, showing that I might be an a-hole or a person. I'm not going to test her in a way that shows a side of my character that I'm not naturally like, if you know what I mean. And then later she might actually like that or dislike that and break up with me. And later on, what can I say? Am I going to say, oh, that wasn't really me, I was just testing you, sweetheart? It's stupid. I think that most women out there don't really know how to trust their own judgment because they're all very insecure. Not all, again, I've got to stop using absolutist language. Most women out there are very insecure, and so they can't trust their own judgment. They're very easily demoralized. They don't believe in themselves. They've got a lot of insecurities, much more than guys are. But when a guy gets with a woman, she foists a lot of that onto him, and he starts to imbue a lot of her insecurities. He starts to mistrust his own judgment, his own decisions. She keeps testing him all the time. She pulls him into her world because he wants to be in her world. And so I pondered the question, seriously, were you happy? Were you happier before you met her? That's a question. And I was discussing this morning. You don't want your life to be worse. Your life can change when you're with someone. Obviously, you've got to consider them. You've got to allocate time differently. You've got to share, blah, blah, blah. It's no longer just about you and your way, despite what a lot of the dating coaches out there say, where it's still all your life and your world, and she has to fit into your frame and basically be a pet on a leash. I disagree. You wouldn't appreciate that. Neither does someone else. And I can't respect someone who is an empty shell. I don't respect bimbos. Sorry. If I'm going to hang around with someone a lot, I can't just hang around with myself and just bounce a conversation off myself. They have to give some sort of feedback. So they have to have some sort of modicum of intelligence or reciprocating the conversation to a nominal level. I mean, they don't have to be mirrors of me. They just have to be compatible with me. Let me see a bit better. So, hey, Karu, how's the game? A feral android says, it's silly that we have to explain. We all know there are exceptions. But this is the thing, you run into the spurgs online that are absolutists. And I know that our safety mechanism likes to go to absolutes to keep ourselves safe. It's very easy for us that we want to go all. There's no gray area because it's clarifying, especially for a guy. So you know where you stand. I get it. But to be realistic about how we live, to be realistic about the risks we take and the courage that we can have as guys, we can't be absolutist. That's why a lot of these guys who are like, all women are like this, but then have the courage to start a business. It's like, if you're going to have a black and white, zero risk factor kind of mentality, then courage really can't occupy that same sort of personality very easily. You've got to be realistic about the risks you take, because then you can apply your courage sensibly. August Line, I should never use words like never. Wait, what? Never? I know. You know what I mean, though. So, when you pair things back to basic principles, why would any of us who are still open to relationships and women, why would any of us want to be with someone? It's because you want to feel good. Unless you're a masochist, you don't want to be in a place that's worse, that makes you feel worse. So obviously relationships are supposed to feel good. Again, if we're realistic, which I insist that we should be, again, do what you want, I'm talking to myself here, we realize that not every day is going to be rainbows and sunshines, and it's not going to feel like a game show. You're going to have bad days. Life's going to intrude. It cannot be perfect all the time. I learn that week to week because I've designed my life where it's very stable, minimal, consistent, that when the smallest thing intrudes, like just a life thing in general, it affects me more than other people because I generally steer my life with very simple tranquility. Family and friends tell me this, where they'll say, oh, how was your week, or how was your day? And I say, oh, it was good. Oh, but I've got this bill coming in, or something very minor happened, and they laugh at me and they say, geez, if those are your problems, human, geez, you've got nothing to worry about. They're first world problems. They're exaggerated first world problems. It's because I enjoy a life of design simplicity where even low level stress in life affects me more than the average person. So I know that's something I need to get better at. So I need to be objective about that. So at the same time, a lot of us guys that can design our lives on our own for ourselves, and if we do want to leave the door open for the right kind of girl, I stress the right kind of girl to enter, a compatible one, not just the pretty one. Pretty's everywhere. Pretty's the car salesman that can dress any way they want to get you to sign on the dotted line. But that is a challenge where you've designed the life where you're in control, you're conscious about how you're living day to day, you know who you are, you know what your boundaries are. It's hard to adapt to that, but you need to if you want to get the benefits of that too. Because there was a comment by, I can't even read that, Azrael X1, on an older video, have you ever tried to love an unhappy woman? He said, I was never more alone than when I was married. And I've made a few videos commenting on this myself. Other guys have too, where I've felt alone here and there when I was single, when I was on my own for periods of time, years, months, whenever, in between girlfriends, in between dating or whatever. But feeling alone was very rare. It happened every now and then. I had moments in the day where kind of like, yeah, it'd be nice to have somebody, not just to sleep with, but just to have someone in my life, just to have that ambience of a girlfriend, the thing that a woman can give you romantically, like as a girlfriend, that nothing else in life can replicate. Everything else is a poor simulacra to a compatible person for you, right? Yes, don't sit around if you've broken up, have hobbies, have things to do, distract yourself, but they're never direct parallels to what a woman gives you. And also, that's why you should have your hobbies and things too, because you need those too. It can't all just be your woman. You have to be a well-rounded person too. So I get that, what was I going to say? Yeah, this basic precept that relationships are supposed to be fun, remember? They're supposed to be fun. And it's pretty good to check in with yourself, if not with the person you're with. Too many guys don't say anything. They coast by with their mouths shut, not saying the wrong thing and walking on eggshells so they can just keep the relationship going. It's almost like being in a job where you've passed the probation period, you're not experienced, you're light on your resume, and you're just smiling and kissing the boss's ass so you can keep your job. And over time, they get used to you and you find your footing, but you kind of feel like a fraud. You don't want to feel like a fraud. Especially if you're self-reflective, if you watch my channel, you can try and lie to a girl to get into a relationship or get her into bed. Look, getting someone into bed, if it's short term, I still think you should be honest about it and not lie, not say, yeah, baby, you're the only person I felt this way about. Yeah, we're going to get married. We're going to have children together. We're going to be boyfriend and girl, whatever it is. You promise her the world because you know that's what she wants, just to get her into bed, and then you ghost her and dump her. I don't agree with that. I think we should always just be honest with ourselves, whether we want short-term, long-term, on our own. We don't lie to ourselves saying, yeah, I'm happy being on my own, when you're really actually miserable. I think the stream's looking all right. Feral, see? Look, Feral did the right thing. Feral says, sometimes sitting alone in the forest or at the beach, I imagine that having a nice woman with me would be nice. Then I remember I used to come here to escape my ex. Yeah. It's funny when there are places that you went to with an ex that were special to you, and then they kind of get soiled afterwards. But you did it in a well-meaning way. Martial arts, oriental medicine, happiness now human. You mean if you're happier by yourself before I met her and before our relationship, what really is happiness if not a state of being, or is happiness a perception? I think happiness is a result of living life well and honestly. So I was happier uh, when I was single. No, wrong words. I was happy and content when I was single, but the right person adds to your happiness. They don't detract. That's the thing. Your world adjusts because you have to accommodate another person for the simple fact of time. And also, you can't just be solipsistic. You just live in your world and this person drags around you like a puppy dog. But yeah, happiness to me really is just the result of living well. So whether it's on your own or with a person, they're slightly different states of happiness, but they're results of how you're operating, if you will. And martial arts oriental medicine continues. He says, some people are very unrealistic about what happiness is. The I'm not happy is also a delusion because we should master our feelings and emotions. So feeling happy or not is not truth to real truth. Yeah. Always check your assumptions and presumptions, like why you feel happy. Remember, guys, if you want to ask a question, put a whole bunch of brightly colored emojis or super chat the live stream if you're watching this live, just so I can see it and answer it properly. Hey, that guy Pete, you refuse to invite to gatherings. Check out his site, guys. His channel. He's got a really, really good extensive way of really digging deep into a particular topic, especially for a lot of you analytical guys. Really worth checking out. Some of the actually, Darker is Better says, in the short term, medium quality women have improved my baseline contentment. In the short term, medium quality women have improved my baseline contentment. Yeah, especially if what you used to term as high quality was really just about superficial looks, what everyone else considered a prize. So if you had this kind of girl on your arm, yeah, she's pretty, she's attractive, it's an objective standard of beauty, but also you get the love and adoration and acceptance and validation of your friends and everyone else and saying, oh my God, how do you find her? He's lucky. He's punching above his weight. You better not screw this up. It's like, well, I like her and everyone else likes her, so I like her even more. Not medium quality, but I know for myself, I like most guys, you tend to go for what most everyone does as you're trying to find, because what you do first when you're younger is approval from your group, from the guys, and then later on, when you're a teenager, you're looking for approval from women. This is a new thing, but your first tattoo, your first membership, and your first neuroplasticity was hardened by the respect of the guys. So you always judge the respect of other men and platonic relationships much more strongly because they're much more primitive. You've had them for longer. And so now when you go and start to explore women in your teenage years and what you like and trying to figure them out and look at these magical, beautiful creatures that I'm suddenly attracted to, and before they were completely invisible or annoying to me, if your friends can give you a thumbs up while you're trying to work out women, it's kind of like, all right, I think I'm doing the right thing. So I think a lot of that, the approval of guys, as well as our own, as we're fumbling through women in our younger years, makes us believe that we like something that might not be healthy for us. As you get older, around middle age and beyond, you'd hope that you would have figured out what's good and what's bad through trial and error. But I know for myself, I started to mistrust very beautiful women facially. I don't find, a beautiful model type runway woman is attractive. But when my mode switches to, oh, she's beautiful, I want to ask her out. Or I think of a woman who looks like a realistically compatible girlfriend material kind of person, a real person, not a perfect mannequin, not a fantasy, not a fetish. I think of girl next door material. So much so that as I got older, I really mistrust the beautiful face. I prefer women who look plain or even ugly, but I do like a beautiful body, an attractive body, a healthy body. So I really don't find, when we're talking about relationships and things like that, who you'd go out with, who you'd approach, as I got older, I never even had any interest. And it wasn't intimidation. I just knew that those women, how many times are you going to try and see if a nice person resides in a beautiful face that's a model face? 95% of the times that it doesn't. Or if they're not mean, there's nothing there. They never needed to develop a character because it was like flies to honey. Guys just flock to beautifully faced women as long as they're not morbidly obese. Guys find them attractive. They don't have to try. They don't have to learn how to speak. They can just be silent and passive, which is a woman's baseline. She never has to take 1 or 2 steps past that. So my type is the girl next door with a good body, girl next door with a healthy body, or an ugly chick with a healthy body. Like, beautiful face is almost like a disqualifier for me as I got older in terms of someone that I would take seriously, because I just waste so much time with beautifully faced women. And I know a lot of women think but I'm beautiful. No, you're not. Most of you aren't. Just like most of us guys, we're not, the top 5%, top 10%, like know where you are on the totem pole. A sense of reality, that's actually a good and refreshing thing with a person, because it helps you. If you come across a woman where she rates herself fairly accurately, like say you're talking and you say, how would you rate yourself out of 10, looks wise? And if she says, I'm a 10 or I'm a 9, and she's like, and you think, yeah, look, you're my type, you're pretty, but you're not a 10, you're a 7, you're an 8, you're a 9 on a good day, if you do your makeup and you dress right and everything. Personality is another thing. How would you rate your personality? How would you rate your values? What do you think you need to work on? So kind of an objective honesty about where you are is a refreshing thing. And sadly, it's like trying to find an oasis in a desert with most women. All right, now you guys can actually see when the stream jumps, because it'll be in real time now. Yeah, Rocket says here, chase your happiness and passion will follow. A lot of guys actually don't, that I've talked to, I get the feeling they don't really care about very much except for women, but they say they do. Yeah, Farrell says, being with women has helped me be content being alone. Martial Arts Oriental Medicine said, Pete did a good one today about women and alcoholism in the 50s. He explains how much better we were the past decades and now. Watch it. Yeah, I will. Thanks. MAOM. Some of you guys have really long names. Your monikers. Martial Arts Oriental Medicine. That guy, Pete, you refused to invite to gatherings. Look, that is your name, and I'll call you what you want. People want to be called, like, there's pronouns and everything. Who am I to say? Not that I'm equating you guys with the rainbow side. Jordan says, I have a 35-year-old female friend buying boots, clothes, backpacks for her new little dog. Would it be rude for me to enlighten her on what she's really doing? She seems oblivious, very telling. Well, yeah, look, if the person can admit, like, yeah, I know it's a dog, but I really they realize that they just enjoy dressing the dog up, but they realize they're being silly and playful, but they just enjoy it. There's a difference between those kind of people and the people that say, yeah, it's my baby. It is my baby. I love her like my child. I don't see her as a dog. I see her as my baby. Then that's like, whoa, okay. Tread lightly, or not at all. See how it jumped? In terms of this video here, Johnny Derp, a commenter, said, I frequently joke that I love mathematics because it's the opposite of dealing with women. If your inputs are correct and you apply the right formula, the outcomes are consistent and reliable. With a woman, consistent inputs aren't appreciated, and the correct formula depends on her mood and interpretation of the input as compared to her desired outcome. Part of our frustration as guys is that we want women to be more like mathematics, and women want men to be more like emotions. You need to meet people halfway, but the problem with, again, the first problem that I can see is incompatibility with two people. Two people just see each other as superficially attractive, or they're tired of being lonely, and this is the first person that sparked any interest, and they don't care about compatibility at all. They just care about not being alone and tying this person to them by any means necessary, whether that's not talking, not communicating, lying, saying what they want to hear, which is still the lying, but then convincing yourself, I'm just being nice, whether that's you or them. Don't be nice, be honest, but be respectful and be civil. Rocket scientist left a message on notifications of this live stream, where the title of the video is, seriously, were you happier before you met her? Rocket said, even though I know it's a lie, I do it anyway, otherwise I just get lonely. It's very important to know how you feel and not to BS yourself and say, I don't need women. But when you're not in front of the guys boasting, when you're on your own, you would really like someone there. Or you're a person that likes company more than some other guys that don't. I don't mind being on my own as much, but I still like the company of a woman. I had a friend who just did not like being alone. I know people who just, it's such hard work for any woman to start a relationship with them that they're basically guaranteed to be alone for the rest of their lives, because they're in love with their own lives so much that they actively defend against any companionship. So know who you are. So if you know, this is the thing, if you've got your eyes open, you know the way women are, you know the games they play, but you're prepared to go in there with your boundaries up and knowing when to bail and keeping yourself relatively safe. If you're playing the game eyes open, if you're doing things eyes open and not with rose-colored glasses, then what's the harm? It's like there's people that are ultra religious, but if it's serving their lives and if it's creating a philosophy for them that by which they can live their lives, who are you or I to say anything? Like, if someone wants to get married, if that's their calling, they want to have kids, they want to have a family, like who are any of us to sit there with our arms crossed and going, oh, loser, can you believe him? You nudge your manosphere mates. It's like, yeah, he's found something that he believes in. Like, it's dangerous. It's like, good luck, buddy. I hope you're doing it with your eyes open. But why do we like to tear, like this crabs in a bucket mentality that I see more and more of in the manosphere? Not everyone. Again, you get the knee-jerk reactions of people that are saying, you're calling us names as though the manosphere is a football team. It's not. It's a bunch of individual guys who are collectively trying to talk shoulder to shoulder around the collective campfire of men talking with each other like we used to before. But you don't have to adhere to the church of men. That annoys me. It's like, yeah, let's be independent guys who are strong and thinking for ourselves, but we have to check in with the rule book all the time. It's like, F off. Anyway. Andy Baby says, how much of your perspective is influenced by a lower sex drive of an older man? Probably that experience and more and more thinking and being more intellectually curious. Because I started to become more intellectually curious in my early 30s, but that correlates with your testosterone starting to drop, right? So again, chicken or the egg kind of thing. Martial Arts Oriental Medicine, thanks for the super chat. He says, thank you, human. I can't think of anything else to put here in super chat, but thank you for all you do. I love you, support you. If your car dies, let me know, really. Thanks, man. Thanks for the support, Martial Arts. I appreciate it. I actually like the way this I've set up the stream here. You guys can actually see what I see. That guy, Pete, you refused to invite to gatherings. I think this is his criteria or his standards for a woman. 5'2", 7 out of 10 in the face. Fit, feminine, modest, smart, responsible, honorable, open, etc. Yeah, it's a lot of these characteristics, guys roll their eyes out and say, yeah, good luck, you're looking for a unicorn, as though it's a high standard. But a lot of these very base, respectable, public pedestrian standards that you would expect from someone being polite and honest in public that you could get along with. Our grandparents had a lot more of this as just the starting block if you wanted a good chance at a relationship. You had to be smart, responsible, honorable, don't really lie, sort of fluent in your language, being able to speak, read, write, think, hold a conversation. Men and women, guys are always going to be nervous around women. That's never going to change. It's plugged into our biology, although the nervousness around women is less today because guys don't even want to try. We actually see what women are like before we even approach them, or their attitude before a date. And it's like, you check yourself and say, why am I even nervous? Or why am I trying to impress her? And that's where the nervousness is coming from. Why do I keep feeling insecure, like I hope she accepts me? Look at this angry, bitter wretch. Like you splash cold water on your face and you kind of check yourself and wonder, it's not like she's a nice person and you're nervous for a objectively good reason. Like, by all accounts, this person that I'm going to meet, she seems really good. Her values, the way she speaks, just all the baseline human being characteristics are there. I'm looking forward to a date optimistically, because if this is a starting point, I'm optimistic in it. I hope it goes well. I hope we're compatible, blah, blah, blah. But going on dates with the feeling as a guy that you're guilty and you have to prove your innocence to like a 3 out of 10 who thinks she's a 9 and you're an option. Gee, I wonder why guys aren't dating. I wonder why guys aren't committing to women. It's really, it's a puzzle, isn't it? Especially the kind of guy that a woman would appreciate if she wanted to marry him or start a family or commit long-term. It's the kind of responsible guy who wouldn't take any crap, who doesn't like to be walked all over. Yet the default of most women out there seems to be the worst kind of women. And they make the excuse, I'm just testing the guy. It's like, so from the schoolyard with your girlfriends all the way throughout your whole life, your mode is consistently, you're a bitch. You're a wretch, you're an awful person, you can't be trusted, you're lazy, you're obnoxious, you're rude, you're gross, you've slept around with the whole town. There's just no redeeming qualities about you that I would be proud to talk to my family or friends when they say, name something really good about her. I couldn't name a thing. If you're always the worst kind of person, I can't just naively hope that underneath all that sewage is a good person. I have to be stupid. Like, where is this magical great person going to come from? Were you keeping it locked in a chest from birth, through your friends, through school, through all of your dating with all the guys that you treated badly, and you're just going to unwrap it as a magical present and give it to a guy? It's ridiculous. I think most women are lying to themselves. If you're a cow, you're a cow, and that's why no one's picking you. You don't have this magically great person underneath. And then on top of that, are you compatible? If you're an awful woman, baseline, you're not compatible with a nice guy. You're not compatible with a decent, self-respecting guy who is the kind of guy that most women would hold up as good, just in personality. A self-respecting guy wouldn't pick you, and after a little while, if he's got his brain switched on, he's going to say, well, she's good to take to bed, but no, I'm not committing to her. There's nothing here convincing me that I can trust this person to be the mother of my children, or to commit to me, for me to exclude myself from the dating scene now and imbue this person into my life and see if I can exist with her. I can't exist with her for more than like an hour of her complaining and bitching. Anyway, I have to highlight some of these things, otherwise the stream skips. Chris says, Human, do you feel women stalk men when they pursue us in a manner where we as men have to be a lot more careful when we pursue women? Yeah, just in general, I think guys just need to be a lot more careful with women these days, because objectively, the average woman out there is dangerous to a guy. The default setting seems to be to assume the worst about you no matter what you say. Yeah, I think guys, after a while, you're just tired of feeling nervous. You don't want to feel like you're dating the same way you were dating when you were in your early 20s. You get to 30s and you're still like a nervous little 5-year-old boy. And it's like, I don't like feeling like this. I know for myself, I do not like feeling uncomfortable, whether it's fear, walking on eggshells, or whatever. I recognize that feeling in me and I don't like it. And I don't want that to be a comfortable baseline with women. Oh, it's normal to feel nervous around women. This is just what women are like. Women complain. Women contradict themselves. No. Like, my life is a mess. I want my life to be stable. And if it's always feeling insecure and unstable with this person because of who they are, and they're not going to change, then I have to make a choice. Put up with it, like a lot of guys do, or cut my ties and go back to stability and tranquility. Let's read some more comments. Yeah, Greg here says, my experience was I met the empty shell and I said what I liked and they said nothing. So I assume they like the same thing. This is, I've talked about this a lot, and it's something that I've resented, both in myself for believing in it, but also that women can passively just stay quiet and find themselves in a committing relationship with the guys head over heels and loves them because they're quiet, they're not a loudmouth, and they're fairly agreeable. But they're agreeable to a point where you don't really know what their opinions are. They just say yes to everything you want. And you don't really know much about their peculiar predilections and their hobbies and their virtues and values. I noticed in my 30s, I've mentioned this before too, where I came back from a few dates thinking, wow, she was really great. And then I think she barely said a thing. I had a great time on the date because I had a great time with myself. And she was just almost a mirror. Be very, very careful of women who act like mirrors, because they like you, they like something about you, your character, or who knows what it is, right? Your security, your lifestyle, you're different. I know, and I'm not bragging in any way because I think I'm fairly odd in a lot of ways, But I think I'm refreshing to most guys because I'm very talkative and I don't just spit out lines and I don't and ah. I directly just, I ask a lot of questions. I just jump into interesting conversations because I am interested. I'm interested in them. So I'm just by default that kind of person, right? So I know objectively that a lot of the women that I did start relationships with or that were attracted to me and that were passive and where I was actually having a good time on my own, but I mistakenly thought that we might be compatible, they find me interesting, so they stay quiet and they just don't want me to go away. They want to see if this can become a relationship. And then later on, they'll feel safe enough to come out of their shell. But by then, them coming out might be something that I don't like. And a lot of times it was. It was someone that I didn't sign up for. All of a sudden, they said no to what they said yes to before because they were just being nice. Now, the amount of times I've been out, I've started dating a woman and got to commitment and it was a long-term relationship. And then 6 months, a year or something down the track, it's like she flips 180 on a value she had at the start that I was very adamant about. This is me. How do you feel about it? And she nods her head and yeah, I'm on the same page. And later on, she's not. And it's either I changed my mind or I knew if I said this that I'm saying now, you probably wouldn't want to go out with me. It's like, yeah, damn right. Because it's a deal breaker. It's one of my values that if it's not there, I'm wasting your time and I'm wasting my time. I know, and this is the thing, women think, oh, he'll change. It's like, no, you stayed silent. You weren't you're not honest about who you are, or you're just too emotionally labile and you just keep switching your position on things. Just that kind of got me annoyed. But yeah, women saying nothing, you assume they like the same thing, and then later on when you're in love and they know they have you, then all of a sudden they come out of their shell and there's just a whole new person can come out. And then she'll say, but you said you loved me. Yeah, I love that person. Who's this? This is where I think where women don't really have an argument where they say, well, it's his fault because he refuses to change. No, it's your fault. You're changing from who you were, the promise you made, the person you presented. You're trying to blame him for not changing. I have more of a legitimate case by saying, I don't want this anymore because you broke the contract of our agreement. You lied about this. You signed on the dotted line about who you were, and now you're tearing up the contract and saying it's my fault that I don't sign on this new contract simply because I signed on the first one. No. It's your fault for changing, not my fault for staying the same. Because anyone objectively, like if you're going to commit to something for what it is, if it turns into something completely different, if it in and of itself rewrites the contract, you should have every reason to decide whether or not you want to sign again on that contract if the thing's changed. If the thing hasn't changed and you just want out of the contract, it's your fault. The other thing hasn't changed. The other person hasn't changed. Oh, but it's not fun. Find your own fun. I'm tired of these empty women blaming guys for not changing because they're just boring women. If you've got yourself together, you know who you are, you know what you like, you're not going to be bored. See the jump? Chris says, I can't handle the anxiety anymore. Yeah, like I said, relationships are meant to be good most of the time. You know, I know that some days will be flat, some days will be whatever. Some days won't be good. It can't be rainbows and unicorns every day. But come on, why be somewhere where why be in a job where 90% of the time you hate it and you're just there for the money? Why be in a relationship where you hate 90%, but you're just there for, bedroom fun or not to be alone? That's a very small percentage of what's keeping you there. And it's not a noble one. It's embarrassing. If you were to be honest about why you continue to stay in a bad relationship, you just don't want to admit it. But it's better to admit it and rip that Band-Aid off. Jordan says, I'm streaming this at work as we speak. What are your thoughts on the quiet quitting trend? Coasting along for the paycheck but lacking interest in the job. I don't really agree with that because you're not getting much out of your life. You're just kind of existing. You're subsisting on the bare minimum in your life. You don't care about feeling alive. You don't care about trying to, get anything out of your own life. Again, it's not about her. It's not about the system. It's not about humanity or anything like that. Just like the luck of you actually being here and being born is small, and then you're just going to sit and do nothing and wait for the grave. I just think again, do what you want. Sit around and do nothing. Be a lump. But I'm kind of stubbornly selfish in a way that I do want to have fun while I'm here. Without using and abusing anyone else. And I don't want anyone else to use and abuse me. Yeah, hit the thumbs up button, guys. Hit like, subscribe, join the channel. And if you want to ask me a question during this live stream, make sure you add like a couple of brightly colored emojis, like that. Okay. MS, so human is a Pisces. No, I'm not a Pisces. I'm a Gemini. Okay, more questions, more comments. GLD 6000 says, in general, women are survivalistic. Many men build in silence and love it alone. We live in two different worlds. Yeah, just remember that women aren't strategically like a Machiavellian, like mastermind planning this stuff. They're just feeling it. They're going on impulses to survive. That's why women, most women out there, when they try and talk philosophically spiritual, they at best, most of them can only talk in an Oprah way. They can use big words to sound smart and spiritual, but most of them aren't kind of stoically spiritual. They can't ground their philosophical spirituality, what they think of life, virtues, values, what's important. They can't ground them in ontology, history, stoicism, things like that, things that are practical. There's no practical aspects to a lot of the ways they're explaining their philosophy. Because most women use words as like a magic spell of feelings to sort of make a situation feel good, rather than actually mean something that feels good, where the feelings are the result of the meaning making sense. Benedict says, in terms of a video I did earlier about 4 tactics of horrible girlfriends, Benedict says also some mothers too. The same tactics deployed on their children. This is very true. If your mother manipulated you in some way, chances are, say for instance, she withheld affection until you did something that she approved of, then she would give you that affection sparingly, but on the condition that you did exactly what she wanted, how she wanted it, blah, blah, blah. You will learn that that is love. And then later on in life, the women you chase, if you look closely, it's going to be in the same fashion that you look for affection, how you were conditioned by your mother or your family or whoever who imprinted that below the age of 7 in you. And so you'll always, your reflex will be chasing that. You're going to be operating in that mode. It's true most of the time. It happened with me. Like when I started to really look at how was I in childhood? What was my relationship with my parents, my family? How did I imprint love in my psyche? And it provides a lot of answers. You don't sort of shirk responsibility and say, hey, it's not my fault. My mum screwed me up in this way, or I'm always chasing women in this way. It's my mum's fault, my dad's fault, society's fault. Recognize what it is, and now you know the dial that you need to consciously kind of dial back or adjust to be the kind of person you'd rather be in that situation. But yeah, our childhood has a lot to answer for, and it's very edifying to go back and realize what dials or what on your equalizer that is you, where your equalizer dials were adjusted by your upbringing. You'd be very surprised how you were treated, what you weren't given enough of, what you were given too much of or in the wrong way, and how that translates into your problems with relationships, patience, infidelity, whatever it might be, you know. That guy Pete left a comment relating to this stream. He said, because I asked the question, were you happier before you met her? He said, not really. Being alone and being with the wrong woman just means you're unhappy in both scenarios, but for two different reasons. But I also see a difference between, if you're alone, doesn't mean you're unhappy. I've been alone in periods of times, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, but I was never unhappy. I had moments here and there. Just like for some people, depression might get them every now and then, and they can't explain it, and it's frustrating because what caused it? It's just, you just feel that way one day. So basically, you have to trust that tomorrow will be different. You probably will feel differently tomorrow. I had those moments of loneliness where for no reason I just felt lonely that day, and it would be nice to have someone. But when I'm alone, I don't feel bad. I don't feel unhappy when I'm alone. But I think that with the wrong person, you do feel unhappy. Happiness for me, or unhappiness, is the result of the way you're living and the decisions you're making and how honest you are with yourself. Whether you speak up, whether you keep your mouth shut, whether you're curled up in the corner, whether you're dominated, whether you're allowed to breathe, whether there's any oxygen left in the room for you. If there's only oxygen in the room for this person, the other person, but not for you, of course you feel suffocated. Of course you need your man cave. So I would say there's a difference between being alone and being lonely, but I know what you mean. Feeling alone for two slightly different reasons, when you are alone and you'd rather be with someone, or when you feel alone when you're with someone. I kind of get that. Pure Male says about this video, he says, they want to be in control while not wanting to be in control. The goalpost is ever shifting. And this is what guys are frustrated. Like, if women weren't shifting goalposts, we'd be able to talk more. We'd be able to recognize, yeah, she's this way. She's not shifting the goalposts, but she's not lying and making excuses. This is just the way women are. Because at least women understand the way. Guys don't shift goalposts. Women at least can get frustrated with guys in a very realistic, more realistic kind of way. Women just duck and weave in a survival sense, and they believe their own ducking and weaving and lying so they can survive. This is what makes it so hard. If women were just more honest about things, men would be able to see them more honestly and have more honest relationships with them. Today, maybe a bit of that honesty is coming up because the internet now is exposing a lot of these, mothers and young girls who have got OnlyFans accounts, and like, you did it, you can't lie about it. And now the dating, like, I saw you online, you were cheating, blah, blah. So the dirty laundry is being exposed now. So maybe that's a good thing. But again, it seems like the world of dating and women and lying and changing their minds is just getting worse and worse. So I don't really know. I don't know. The Silver Fox says, I'd rather have no friends than fake ones. Yep, I agree. In terms of this video, Vladimir says, in Russia, we have this poem which goes something like this. I'm a woman, which means I'm an actress. I have 100 faces and 1,000 roles. If you want to go get it, says, women never see you. They only see your archetypical projection. They only see your values and the effectiveness in which you propagate those values in the future and the world around you. If you don't maintain the initial ideal snapshot she formed in her mind about you in the beginning, she will definitely leave. She might leave anyway if she's a narcissist and needs to leave because of her own lack of self. Guys also are hamstrung by the snapshot they take of Princess, and even after the honeymoon and you're in a relationship, she changes, she drops the mask, but you're holding on to the initial snapshot when she was on her best behavior. So men have their own things that they need to deal with and be honest with too. I kind of said, beware of the woman who is all image and symbolism. I learned a big lesson a couple of serious relationships ago, where when things were good, she was all over me. She was exactly the kind of person I hoped for. But afterwards, in retrospect, she kind of loved me as a symbol. I remember she always used to call me her, I don't know why, she used to call me her Egyptian king or something like that. All these kind of kings and queens and metaphors and, you know, a lot of stuff that I hear in dating advice today, like build an empire with your king and your queen. And she used to use this kind of language with me. And I thought that was kind of odd because I even have a squeamish time when guys say, hey, brother. It's like, it's a bit over the top. You're not really my brother, but I get the sentiment. I don't hate it, but it's kind of like it's not accurate. And so when my ex would say king, it's like, I'm not a king. Like you're not, like there's this underlying feeling where you're not actually describing me as me. You're jumping 10 steps ahead to some sort of fiction. And I think it's not such a bad way to be because when I lost my job, she left me because she wasn't feeling it. But before I lost my job, I was a king. Things were great. I absolutely saw no problem in our relationship. It was like great. But afterwards, when you put those pieces together, beware of the person that sees you as a symbol, an archetypical king or a queen or your status. If you ask them, what do you love about me? And it's kind of like your position. It's nothing about your values, like kindness, empathy, like just human values that either a male or a female, like a human quality, not a male or female quality, a human quality. If it's just a male quality, women will just like things that are provider, protector, blah, blah, blah. And if you just describe female symbolic qualities, they're kind of, look, nurturing can just be a nice human quality anyway. But if you just describe her beauty or I like how you take care of the house, they're kind of roles and archetypes. So that's a lesson I learned with her, where I got sucked into feeling good, her boosting my ego, and then as soon as I lost my job, she discarded me because I wasn't that symbolic guy anymore. Again, I was very unhappy after that relationship. But again, I think I was also walking on eggshells. She was a very nervous person too, but she was all over me. She deferred to me a lot, so I felt in charge. And so she almost made me believe in my status, in my fake status with her. And then she just took it away. So really, I wasn't the king. She was a queen in her world. Julian says, this might be an opinion on my part, but I think the very thing they saw they wanted, which is a confident man, is the thing that intimidates them because of their own lack of self-confidence. I've thought this too. He continues, they put more confidence in how they look, but as men, we put more confidence in what we can do. Mickey, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, if you work at a candy factory, is it okay if she calls you a sugar daddy? If you're a father, yeah, it's accurate on both counts, isn't it? You deal in sugar and you're a father. Nadine left a comment under this video. The important question is why so many women behave this way, in the way I described in this video, where they want a confident man, but they continually try and strip away his confidence. She continues, I think it's usually because they're insecure, and constantly testing men with these sick mind games is their attempt to A, feel assured they're with a man who is resilient and able to read their minds, and B, constantly create drama so they can make the relationship all about them. However, no matter how many hoops men jump through, they can never satisfy these women because you can't fix narcissistic wrecks. All you can do is walk away. I agree. BT says, when a woman is in a new relationship, she sees herself as a screenplay writer, directing and producing a movie where she's playing the lead role, the alleged victim, and the man is there to follow that script, the villain. It's her movie. Or sometimes he's not the villain, he's the romantic interest, but then he can flip to being the villain if he's not reading his role correctly, or depending on her mood. Sometimes that day she wants to watch a drama, some days she feels like watching a romantic comedy, and it's up to him to adjust given how she feels. But anyway, he continues, it's her movie. Her wishes and her desires are completely His wishes and his desires are completely irrelevant to the role he's placed into play. Unfortunately, men are generally simple-minded and jump at the chance to fulfill their roles. This is important. I agree with this. Guys love fulfilling roles because we love doing things that other people make us proud that we've done for them. We like making people feel good by doing things for them. And so we jump into a role because like, I want to do this. I'm a human doing. I can do that role. I can be the hero. I can be this. I can fix that. I can, he continues, this narrative works only if all the characters in the movie are benefiting somehow, as they do in traditional relationships. But in today's modern world, the only one to benefit from their role in the movie is the woman herself. Yeah, and a guy can't sort of stay in a movie where not only does his role change, his script changes, he's not giving the new script he's supposed to magically know, but also the genre of the movie changes from day to day because of how she feels. Again, no communication. Imagine how you would feel if you were turning up to work every day and you didn't know what job you'd be doing. Say you were an architect, you go to work, and then the next day, you don't know if you'd have to go to the same place. You don't know who your boss would be, what mood they'd be in. You don't know if you'd been an architect, but every day you'd change positions. Like, no, today you're a butcher. Today you're working in the cafeteria. Today you're going to be the CEO. Today you're going to work in the souvenir shop. Today you're going to work in the florist. It's like, I don't know how to do that, but you have to pretend to be confident and you're being judged on performance. It's just a very harrowing way to sort of have a relationship. Torgo. Actually, I think there was a question. Was there a question? Salty Snake says you should do a video with Terrence Pop. I bet you could have an interesting discussion. Yeah, I've never talked to Terrence. He seems like an okay guy. He's always kind of doing the skit of being drunk, though. I haven't seen much of him when he's not drunk. I think I've seen one or two clips of chats with him. Yeah, Chris Brewer says, the problem with basing a relationship almost solely on performance and not about the human soul. It's like if it's all about performance, you cannot stop running. You have to maintain the performance or exceed the performance. And if you do, she's usually expecting the excess. And so now you've just upped your standard. It's like a job where performance review, you've got to go above and beyond, next performance review, and then you just got to keep outperforming yourself all the time. So basically, you've got to continually calibrate yourself to 120% all the time. Whereas if it's just about the person, there's no calibration. And there's security in knowing that that thing is solid. There's a lot of parallels between the way businesses operate and the way women operate. Pretty interesting, isn't it? It tells you a lot of the marketing about women and their love and communication and how much they care and how much they give is just marketing BS, in the same way that businesses and banks, the way they market on TV, they'll do commercials about families hugging each other and, you know, banks care and all that, where they really don't. Whatever they market out there is usually the opposite, especially with women. The saying with women goes, amongst most sensible guys, is don't believe what women say, look at the way they act, look at their choices. Which is why I often say that it's in your interest on dates to have a good time, but playfully interrogate her past. Why did she break up? What kind of guys does she like? What are her values? What are the deal breakers? And if she doesn't want to talk about it, that's a warning sign in my books. How long have we been streaming? I'll try to do another midweek stream this week, guys, so pay attention to that. Torgo, 1969 says, I had to tell my elderly mother a few weeks ago when I visited her and my dad. She was nagging at him and telling him what to do as he was cooking the onions and pierogi, and he kept telling her to back off and she would not. She clearly did not trust him and his judgment regarding his cooking. And this sort of thing happened all the time when I was a child, and it was clear to me that they were miserable together, and I always feared that a family breakup was coming soon. Yeah, this is the thing that that kind of dynamic between the parents, the fighting, the kids are always worried that it's going to break up. And what does that kind of kid do? Grows up with fear in relationships, saying yes to any woman he's with because he doesn't want to break up. He doesn't want the family. He doesn't want that intimacy to go away because he's used to that fear factor of walking on eggshells and thinking at any moment disaster's going to strike. So basically, you grow up as a person, and I'm saying this because of experience. There was fighting in the household when I was young too. And so you grow up and you become a people pleaser with women, especially with women. You say yes all the time. You're very agreeable because you feel nervous. You don't want it to end. You just want to keep a smile on their face because you don't want any argument there. Torgo continues. This sort of thing happened all the time when I was a child, and it was clear to me that they were miserable together, and I always felt that there would be a breakup was coming soon. I had to tell her to stop belittling him like she was doing, and I angrily told her that she has no idea what it does to a man to be constantly disrespected like that, and that sort of thing was what made me despise both of them and not speak to them for years at a time in previous decades. Looking back, I should have told her that such belittling and disrespectful treatment is perhaps why she would always cry and ask him, "Why don't you talk to me?" when she insisted on grilling him and condemning him for being distant in the house when me and my siblings were home. Isn't that amazing, those kind of mind games? Women keep poking and prodding and pushing, and in general today, we don't need men. Men are the problem of this. You know, men turn up on dates being presumed guilty, and you have to prove your innocence. And then they wonder, where are all the good men? Why aren't men chivalrous? Why don't men love us? Why don't they want us? It's like there's nothing to want. Be wantable, be lovable. You want to be loved, be lovable. Oh no, I don't want to do that. It's too hard work. You should just like me for turning up. They're deranged. Most women out there are deranged. You want to be loved, be lovable. It's not hard. Like, how simple do you want the math to be? 1 + 1 = 2. It's like those people like get fit, lift weights, watch your diet. No, it's got to be some magical formula. It's not the direct, responsible thing. I want this lazy formula that's going to magically work. It's always just some magical theory. Those women are for the tip. David, under this recent video, says, it's even worse for me, especially having Asperger's and reading people. I've had no problem getting the relationships, but I swear to God, there are some people, as much as you love and try to communicate effectively with them to get to the bottom of things, I swear, I think women expect men to be psychic. The number of those I've dated and walked away from because I ended up getting sick to death of stupid games people play. It's no wonder men walk away from women and women themselves become bitter and twisted because they can't keep a man, because no man in their right mind would put up with such BS. I agree, 100%. Women can get guys really easily, but women are terrible at keeping them. Women have no clue how to keep a guy because they're stubborn, lazy, and they're childish and too emotional. They think they're great because they can get a guy. They think they're great communicators because they talk a lot, but they have no understanding for quality and the substance of keeping a guy, of good communication, of keeping your word, being responsible, things like that. They're just grifters. A lot of them, like most women, are just gaslighters. Their primitive safety brain, their survival instinct just gaslights every situation so they can get out of it. His name was King, says, confident guys who can do all the work. Yeah, the reason why women love these confident guys is that confident guys do all the work and take on all of her responsibilities. Yeah, I bet she loves confident guys. So, that's what a lot of women mean when they say, I like a confident guy who takes charge. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do anything. Logical to a fault says, the games don't make me unsure of myself. They make me unsure of being with that woman. Well, we all need to get to that point where we recognize that, no, I'm doing nothing wrong. She's playing games. She's breaking promises. She's gaslighting me. I want directness. She keeps moving the goalposts. You need to really make sure that you're not being knocked off your stability by her because you want it to work. Be aware whether it's you or her. And if it's her, it's her. You can still love or care about someone, but if they're to blame, they're to blame. If I'm to blame, I'm to blame. The more we can be objective about it, and the more you can practice being the third person observing the situation, don't just kind of be solipsistic in your point of view, like just me, because you can get defensive about that. So practice actually, if you're in a situation you don't feel good, is learn to kind of know that the best way you're going to come to terms with it and be as right as you can be is to step away as a third person, pretending that you're observing human and chicky poo. And, okay, how wrong are you? How wrong is she? Let's see how the scales balance. It's not just about me. It's not just about her. Let's talk about fairness. Let's look at this as though you're observing two people. You're the neutral arbiter of two people in a disagreement. Let's see where the scales balance and where right and wrong resides. Melee says, I have learned not to seek happiness in women. It's not a bitter perspective, more a philosophical one in relation to chasing happiness. Yeah. Don't seek happiness in women. Seek happiness by the choices you make and by trying to adhere to your values as much as possible. The result will be happiness more often. You won't have to rely on this to get happiness. You will create your own happiness more when you live the right way, where you do what you're supposed to do, say what you're supposed to say, and be proud of yourself because you are acting in that way. You'll be happier. You'll be prouder. You don't have to be given happiness. Women want happiness given to them like they want love given to them. No, love, happiness, all those good feelings, they're a result of you contributing properly in your actions and how you conduct yourself. LAD, which stands for Life After Divorce, Says women know lots of stuff they are doing to men and they're playing dumb. Like 90%, I'm convinced, based on extensive experience. Yeah, women are great at pretending they're weak when they're strong, pretending they're insecure when they're not, pretending they don't know something when they do. They're much more Machiavellian. Their nature is much more Machiavellian than men's by default. They're born with it. Whereas with guys, it's harder to be Machiavellian because we're born and we learn to respect honor and truth and keeping your word amongst the guys. So it's hard for us to see the application of lying and the ends always justify the means. Women can use those dynamics much more than guys. It's very hard for us to reprogram ourselves. Collins says, in the process of chasing away the men they don't want, they also chase away the men they do want. Yeah, it's stupid. They find a good guy and they turn him into a guy that they don't want to be with, or the opposite. It's kind of like, no, I just want the opposite. I want two things existing at the same time, and basically you're left with nothing. Atheist Monk says, on the silent treatment, I remember dating it as a teenager and thinking, when I get older, girls won't do that anymore. Guess what? At 24, women still do the silent treatment. Yeah, a lot of men and women, they just don't grow up. They're still dating the same way they dated in their teenage years, and they've just locked into that same mode. You know, they've got gray hair. They've slightly matured, but they're still operating. Their default reactions are the same way. They say the same things. They don't say the same things when they should. They keep their mouth shut. You really need to rip those band-aids off as you get older, just to kind of not repeat the same relationships over and over again. Because as you get older, if you don't recalibrate the way you do relationships, you're going to regret a lot of things. You'll get to my age and you'll be like, well, that chick a few years ago, that could have worked out if I didn't act like the way I acted when I was a teenager. It could be your fault. So yeah, any last questions and super chats, guys? Remember, if you're in this stream, put a whole bunch of brightly colored emojis if you want to ask me a question or a super chat, and let's wrap it up. Yeah, Ted1775 said, like Lucy pulling the football away each time from Charlie Brown. I think I mentioned this in a very old video. That was a lesson of Charlie Brown. If any of you are too young to remember Charlie Brown, it was a comic strip back in the 20th century. It's pretty funny, but it was very telling in terms of male-female stuff as well, where Lucy kept holding a football for Charlie Brown to kick, and he'd say, you promise you're not going to pull the football away when I run up to it and kick it? And she says, no, I won't. I promise I won't. And every time he ran up, he's just about to swing and kick it, and she pulls it away, and he swings at nothing, and he falls on his back. And she does it every time, and he never learns his lesson. And it was a real comment on women's lying and manipulation and game playing. No, thank you for your super chat donation. He says, do you listen to Stefan Molyneux? I do from time to time. I listened to him a lot more when he was still on YouTube before he got kicked off. That's kind of annoyed me why he got kicked off. But I do check him out every now and then on Odyssey. So, yeah, I recommend you guys go listen to Stefan Molyneux. I haven't listened to him extensively, so I don't really know what he's talking about that much now. But whenever he talks about relationships and life, he's got a very astute and, again, a different perspective than mine and what you're used to listening to. And I think that's always good. But he's a very intelligent guy, classically trained in literature and communication and things like that. So very, very smart guy. Different point of view. You don't have to agree with everything. But a lot of the stuff he says about men, women, relationships, ethics, morals, especially ethics and morals and things like that, that guy's really, really good. So, yeah, I used to listen to him more. I should listen to him more. But again, 24 hours in a day trying to do life as well. Mickey, thanks for the donation. He says, how much is gas in Australia? A lot. My gas bill is just going up and up and up. I've mitigated my electricity bill somewhat because I installed solar panels a couple of years ago, but gas is now just going up and up and up. So not great, not great. Whoa, see, big jump. Okay. Let me see any last questions or super chats before we wrap up the stream, guys. Cynical Optimist says the man who knows must discharge a function. The one who does not cannot arrogate one to himself. He can only try to do so. I'll need to read that again. I can't really make sense of it. Maybe because I'm not used to. We don't read enough well-written English. This is my fault. Johnny Derp says, anyone actually looking for quality in a date or mate doesn't go to a club looking for it. Just the Guy says, it depends. What if you make it clear I won't put up with this kind of nonsense? She can either accept or break up. Yeah, why not? You need to speak what you're feeling and what's important to you. That's all I can say. However you want to do it, whatever's important to you is up to you. Yep. Feral Android says Star Trek still has a hierarchy system. That's why science fiction is generally more popular with guys, because even though it's fantasy, it still has to make sense. Taking control. Women say, we want equality. Men, okay, like being on the front of the lines in the, I can't even say that word. Wage gap, yeah, blah, 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 okay. Any last questions, guys? And we'll wrap it up. Andy Baby says, by gas, he meant petrol. I thought you meant gas, as in gas in the house. Yeah, we call fuel petrol. Or gas, as Americans would call it for your car. We call it petrol. Yeah, it's more expensive than it was pre, you know what, a couple of years ago. So it's gone up probably 50 to 60%. Yeah. My fuel expense for my car is a lot more than it used to be. All right, guys, let's wrap the stream up. It was a good one. It looks like it's working. This new setup is working well. Camera kept me in focus most of the time. Beautiful. And yeah, thanks for showing up. Had a good bunch of viewers. Put your comments down in the comments section. Like, subscribe. No, it says, would you have Stefan Molyneux on for a chat? Yeah, I would. I don't know how much, it depends on the conversation. But all my chats now that I do, I kind of put them on my chat channel. I don't put them on the main channel, but yeah, I'd have a conversation. I basically would love to have conversations with anyone who is sensible and intelligent and who sort of I've seen. I'm not just going to have a conversation with some random, but I know I've seen Stefan Molyneux stuff. If I come across somebody who I've seen their YouTube channel and I get a sense of how they speak, how they think, and I can see that we can have a discussion and not necessarily a debate where they're trying to beat me and arm wrestle me. But yeah, Stefan Molyneux would be interesting. So yeah, why not? Someone also mentioned that with Richard Grannon as well. And I think Richard Grannon replied he'd be open to a conversation with me, but just it's a matter of having time to organize these chats. So, yeah, Stefan Molyneux would be cool. I've always liked the guy. I've never understood why people didn't like him just because he had views that they didn't agree with specifically. It's just foreign to me that if someone's not a mirror to you, you do your best to kind of chop them down and burn them at the stake. Like, not everyone has to be on your football team. In fact, I'm the kind of person that likes the sport, and I don't barrack for a football team. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Just the guy says, would you chat with Zizek? Slavoj Žižek? Slavoj Žižek? No, that guy's just... I wouldn't know how to talk to that guy. That guy's very, very intelligent, and he's very kind of academically intelligent. There's some people that live in an academic world that I wouldn't know how to talk with him. I'm sure he's probably a nice guy in private, but it'll probably be on a discussion. And to tell you the truth, a lot of these guys, and probably Stefan as well, he'd look at my channel, and certainly Slavoj would look at my channel and say, this guy's just too pedestrian. Like, this would be a boring conversation for him. And I admit it. I humbly admit I would be a boring conversation for Slavoj Žižek. Probably for Stefan Molyneux as well. I think I'm fairly pedestrian. I think I've got a good lexicon, but that doesn't necessarily translate to me having the sort of intelligence cues to have a conversation on specific levels like the way they do. Again, my intelligence is rooted in creativity, and my vocabulary is rooted in my love of writing more than more than attaching to that academic side of intelligence where Slavoj Žižek and a lot of sort of the academic philosophers reside. So anyway, make of that what you will. I'm blabbing at the moment. Stop saying the fruit says, how do you know if Chicky Poo is telling the truth? Speak up, stop keeping your mouth shut, interrogate the person, and find out what's real instead of crossing your fingers and blaming women for a lot of us that we don't speak up and find out if she is the one or if she's just an imposter. Most women are tourists on dates, and the problem is we allow them to be tourists. So make of that, again, what you will. If you have a microphone, guys, feel free to jump on my Discord after this chat. Join a bunch of us that usually jump on and have a bit of a discussion. My Discord channel is open 24/7 for any of you in my comment section with a microphone if you want to go there and chat about something. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. Like, subscribe, join the channel, and yeah, thanks for showing up, and I'll catch you on the next stream and in the next video. See you later, guys. Bye.